Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and back with another review. I'm gonna do the last video I can of the Saw series so far because, well, Saw X isn't on digital for about 2 weeks. So I guess I'll get back to that, and I guess I'll get back to like watch list stuff, but this time I'm reviewing Spiral from the Book of Saw. It's a horror thriller film directed by Darren Lynn Bousman from 2021, and it stars Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson, Max Minghella, Marisol Nichols, and Ri- oh, Dan Petronijevic. Yeah. In this film, working in the shadow of an esteemed police veteran, brash detective Ezekiel Zeke Banks and his rookie partner take charge of a grisly investigation into murders that are eerily reminiscent of the city's gruesome past. Unwittingly entrapped in a deepening mystery, Zeke finds himself at the center of the killer's morbid game. So, what did I think of Spiral from the Book of Saw? This is a garbage fucking movie. Now, if this wasn't connected to Saw and was its own thing, people might not think it's as bad. But the fact that this is related to Saw in any way makes it way worse. Because I'm judging these as Saw films. How entertaining were they? How well did they do what they're going for, as in supposed to be like Saw? And this one failed. Um, Let me get to the cast. Chris Rock plays Detective Zeke Banks. He's terrible in this film. He really is. Because the main issue with his acting is that it feels like an SNL sketch. His acting feels like it's an SNL sketch making fun of like police procedurals, and Chris Rock I just don't know if I buy as a like emotional actor or a serious actor. Samuel Jackson plays Marcus Banks, who is Zeke's dad. He doesn't give a great performance either. Uh, it feels like they just put him in the film to have another name that they could slap on the poster. He has maybe 2 scenes where he acts, about 2 or 3 scenes. He's probably in the film about 5 minutes. Max Minghella plays Detective William Shank. He is the partner that gets partnered up with Chris Rock. He's not great. Um, Especially near the end of the film, he's not great. Marisol Nichols plays Captain Angie Garza. She's captain of the cops, or of this police precinct. She is supposed to be like this, she's supposed to be this, like, badass female cop. She can't pull it off. Apparently, this woman is known for Riverdale. I did not watch Riverdale. She was also in a film called Felon that I've seen, which I really liked that movie. It wasn't like an original like prison movie, but it was very well done. Val Kilmer and Stephen Dorff were great in it. Harold Perrineau. But in this, Marisol just is not good. Uh, Especially at times where she tries to yell and command the room. I absolutely don't buy it because she looks like a model. Um, and Dan Petronijevic as Boz, he's whatever. This film is simply not a Saw film. And I don't mean that as in the whole like thing that the filmmakers tried to say. They were like, "Oh, it's not a Saw film, it's a spin-off." And then somebody else said, "Oh, I'm so happy to be in a Saw movie." And then somebody else said, it's neither of them. It's its own thing." No one knew what they were trying to make when making this film. Let me give you a little backstory on this film because this was originally going to be basically Jigsaw 2, and it was going to go more in depth on the character of John Kramer. And Tobin Bell was signed to return. The producers, one of the producers was having a wedding, or a wedding happened that one of the producers happened to be at. Who shows up but Chris Rock? Now, I don't hate Chris Rock as a person, especially after the whole Will Smith thing. I don't mind Chris Rock as a person or as as like a comedian. As an actor, I'm not crazy about him. Other than Madagascar, I thought he played that character well. I thought he was funny. Other than like voice acting roles, I don't think he's a great actor. I think if he's going to be in a movie, it has to be a comedy. But here, well, let me finish the story. He basically came up to the producer and said, "Oh yeah, I've always wanted to be in a Saw film. I love all of them. Can you please find a way to put me in one?" And they basically scrapped the entire script that they had finished for essentially Jigsaw 2, and they came up with this bullshit. Now, maybe that's the reason they specifically made this not exactly a Saw movie, but they also took away all of the charm with the previous Saw films because even though I hated Saw 3, it felt like a Saw film. It was edited like a Saw film, it was acted well. That's a major issue with this movie is the acting. Um it wasn't trying to push some political agenda. It wasn't i- if anything, it was just trying to be an effective horror film. And even though Saw 3 failed for me, especially given the characters, I can still see it being called a Saw film. This? Well, Jigsaw as well. I hated Jigsaw, but the small the at least there was a hint of Saw in Jigsaw. At least there were technically some traps. But in this film, there are technically traps, but these are some of the least imaginative traps in the entire series. Now, I am going to get into spoilers for this one because I have to talk about the twist. This twist is somehow worse than the last film's twist because they blatantly give it away. There, let me talk about the traps in this film. There's the opening one. There's the tongue trap where the guy has to basically hang himself to rip out his tongue so that he doesn't get hit by the A train or whatever. Um, like yes, they're using practical effects for some of these. The practical effect here makes no sense. The guy's tongue is sticking out way farther than it ever would realistically, and it really ruins the trap for me because it's barely a trap. It's just, oh, rip your tongue out, run away so that you don't get hit by the train. So it's barely a trap. It's very unimaginative. Then there's the rip out your fingers trap. Um, where this guy has a thing in his mouth and he's got his fingers like tied up in this like razor wire, I guess, that's like pulling onto his fingers, kind of like Chinese finger traps. And he has to rip out all his fingers because he's used them to light the stand or something. I forgot exactly what it was. And there's Marisol Nichols' trap or Angie's trap where it's literally hot wax is being poured on your face and you have to sever your spinal cord in order to stop it. Now, I'm not a surgeon, but I'm gonna take a wild fucking guess and say that severing your spinal cord, you probably would not be able to live. Especially done in that way where it's like you're deliberately doing it. And also you probably wouldn't be able to escape the trap. Also, how would the trap know that you severed your spinal cord? And there's the last one with Samuel Jackson, where it's not even a trap. It's just, oh, he's pointing a gun at the cops and the cops shoot him. Social commentary, and I have to get to that. The traps here are boring. Like, how do you make saw traps boring? At least the laser collar. thing at the end of Jigsaw was kind of interesting. It sucks that there was such garbage CGI when the commissioner or whatever got his head cut in 8 pieces. But with this film, it's like they're not even trying. This feels like a film made out of an obligation, just like the last film did. And from what I've heard, Saw X is really good, so I've got my expectations high, um, kind of high. But in this film, it legitimately feels like they are just making a film to make a film. And finding out about the backstory of the film really made me think that even more. Um, because that's what it feels like. It feels like a film no one wanted to make, just like the last one. Uh, the whole plot about um crooked cops and people like covering up shit. It's been done before. Please, like, stop doing. Like, the cop parts of Saw movies were never the parts that anybody was like, oh yeah, I can't wait for the next Saw movie to get to the cop plot. And even though I like some of the cop plots, there are some of them that are really fucking boring. The cop plot in Saw 4 is literally just people interrogating Jill Tuck and then Strom shooting um slow ass motherfucking Jeff. Uh that's basically all that happens in Saw 4 on the cop side of everything. But in this film, they make the police procedural elements of the movies the forefront, and it is. I usually don't care about cliches, but literally, there's a scene where Marisol Nichols is. I keep calling her Marisol. Angie is chewing out Zeke and going, um, you put everybody's life on the line. You did an op and didn't tell me. Um, you're a loose cannon. And then he's like, there's no one on the force I can trust. What am I, a Jamaican nanny? And like, it it is some of the worst writing. I don't know who wrote this. I'm gonna look right now. Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger. Okay, so these are the people that wrote Jigsaw, Piranha, Crawl Space. What is this? I don't know what that is. Um, Apparently these two wrote Saw X as well, so I hope Saw X isn't as bad. Um, but yeah, this movie is fucking rough. The writing is a big rough part of it. Um, Also the editor of this movie worked on Incident in a Ghostland and Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Yeah, that's another issue with this film. Gone is Kevin Grutert as the editor. And even in the last film, it barely felt like he was the editor because there wasn't the like jaggedy editing that was such a trademark thing of the series. Gone is the stylish editing. Gone are the nice shots. The editing in this film is joyless. It has no edge to it. Nothing really hits. The things that made the gore and the like messy elements of the other films work was the editing for a big part of it. And it really made you feel the anxiety that these people are feeling in these traps or in these games or in the situations. And it really helped to build up tension along with the score. Now, Charlie Clouser still does the score in this film, but it is one of the most generic soundtracks I've ever heard. It would not surprise me, like if, like in the last film, that I felt if Charlie Clouser's name is just slapped on for no fucking reason, because other than the variation of the Saw theme at the end, the Hello Zep or Hello Zep 9, um, other than that, this score is terrible. It's just very boring. The editing again, yeah, during Saw Traps, they try to do the like, oh, the camera went around the body, but it doesn't do the flashing thing, and it just pisses me off. It just feels so out of place. The editing is clunky. It really is. There's some really bad ADR. There's a bit where um it's a flashback to why the villain is a villain. And I'll get to that because it's a really fucking stupid reveal. And the cop is like, you know that you can trust a cop. Are you sure you want to trust a cop? And it's like a completely different voice that's dubbing in the word cop. There's a bit earlier where Chris Rock and Chris Rock's character and Max Minghella character, Detective Shank, are walking into a subway, and from line to line, you can tell that they're using ADR instead of actual audio because they didn't put enough reverb or echo into the audio, so it just sounds really off. This is a lazily put together movie. Also, there were people saying this feels more cinematic than any of the other Saw movies. It finally looks like something from theaters instead of a direct-to-video movie. I'm sorry, the Saw movies, from the very fucking beginning, have had pretty fucking great cinematography and great editing and great music and all that. And you're gonna say just now it looks like a real movie. This is one of the most expensive films in the series. Now, it was like $12 million, which isn't a ton, but for this series, most of the films in it were around 10 million. This looks like a TV show and not a very good or well-made TV show. There were a ton of TV shows from way before this that look a lot better than this. There's a show called The Bridge. Beautiful cinematography, looks gorgeous. It looks like a movie. Try watching that instead. Um, Much better story, actors, uh, action. Um, there's also uh, Tobin Bell's not here. There's a photo of him at one point, but he is not here. Which the fact that you have a Jigsaw movie without Tobin Bell, go fuck yourselves. The man is like, he's getting up there in age. Why not put him in your films while you can if you're gonna keep making the Saw films? And the thing I finally have to get to is the twist. Now, again, super spoilers. I know I already said spoilers at the beginning, but some people don't get the hint. I understand. Not making fun, I'm just saying. The killer by the end turns out to be Max Minghella character, Detective Shank. Which from the beginning, I already thought like, oh, they're giving him a new partner. He's gonna like start warming up to him, and then they're gonna kill him, and then it's gonna turn out that he's not dead. Um, this is kind of the same twist as Jigsaw, and they kind of give it away in the same way because in Jigsaw it was like, oh, you only saw Halloran get drugged or put to sleep, and you didn't see the other guy, and he just said, "Oh yeah, I got put to sleep too," which immediately gave away to me. I was like, "Wait a second, he's the killer." Yes, and after every one of the traps is sh- uh, either after or before each one of the traps or each one of the dead bodies is found, you see them go through the trap. Like a normal Saw movie. In this film, the way they try to do their twist is they have it be like, oh, Shank is dead. And then they come across the skinned body and they're like, oh, yeah, the body was skinned from head to toe. That would work in a normal serial killer film where you don't graphically show how everybody dies. But in this, where if you know the Saw series, you'll realize how stupid of a twist this is. Because you're blatantly giving it away by being like, "Oh yeah, we're just not going to show the trap." Where or we're not because there is no trap. They don't show any trap for this body. It's just a hung up skinned body. And it's like later when it's revealed, it just does not work. This actor does not have the range to play a villain, and uh, the whole thing about like the dirty cops thing, where films in Hollywood and otherwise keep trying to shove this narrative of, oh, all cops are evil. No, that's not that's not true. There are no absolutes. You cannot just say, oh, all cops are evil because you had one bad run-in with a cop or you got caught. Yes, there are dirty cops. There are bad cops. There are bad guys, but not all cops are bad. And this film kind of perpetrates that by having most of the cops that are against Zeke because he brought in one of the dirty cops and like told on him or whatever. Uh, most of them are white, um, which very subtle. There's only like one other black guy that's like also a dirty cop, but this film just keeps pushing that further and further, and it just comes off very lazy. Again, like they didn't know what they were trying to do with this film. And Darren Lynn Bousman, I think, is legitimately the worst director in the series. Even though I liked Saw 2 and didn't hate Saw 4, I think he's the worst director in the series. Because Jigsaw, at least at times, looked like an okay movie. It was well shot, even though it wasn't shot like a Saw film. It was still well shot, and I could tell what was going on. Here, it's just like generic camera work, very boring, flat, and that's how I would describe this movie. Uh, Generic, boring, and flat. Uh, it's a hard movie to sit through. Um, at least it's like only 93 minutes. It's about 85 minutes without credits. But yeah, this I'm glad I'm almost through with the series. I guess I'll try to review something different tomorrow or sometime soon, but yeah. That was my review of Spiral from the Book of Saw. If you've seen the film, let me know what you think in the comments. And Movie Reviewer Next Door, out.